Okay, now we're going to take a look at Satch Boogie. This is going to be an up-tempo blues boogie shuffle in A. We're going to use a little from the A blues scale, a little A mixolydian, a little A Dorian. We're even going to have some dominant and diminished arpeggios thrown in there for good measure. So I'm going to play the first section up to speed and then we'll break it down. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing a lot with the A string bouncing off to the open A string, starting off with the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, coming back to the notes G to A on the low E string. So once again. Next part, I'm going to move to the A string 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and then I'm going to do a quick hammer-on and pull-off to the 6th, back to the 5th, back to the open A string, and come up and land on the note A on the G string. So far we've done this. Now I'm going to pull off to the open G string, hit the note C on the A string, pull off to the open A string, 4th fret on the A string to the 2nd fret on the G, 5A, 4D, open G, open D, back to the C on the A string, pull off to the open A, and end with G to A on the low E string. Okay, so now we're going to break it down into even smaller bits. The first little bit will be this. So what I'm doing here is starting with the open A string and then kind of bouncing off between the 3rd and the 5th fret on the same string. Coming back to the notes G to A on the low E string. Up to the 3rd fret A string. And then I'm going to do a hammer-on and pull-off between 5, 6, 5, back to the open A string. Come up to the 2nd fret of the G string. And that's our first little segment. Okay, now I'm going to pull off on the G string. Get the C on the A string, pull off to the open A string, 4th fret A, 2nd fret G, 5A, 4D, open G, open D, down to the low E string, 2nd fret to the open E string, 3rd fret A string to the open A, ending with G to A, 3rd fret E string, 5th fret. So here's what we just played. And then we do that 2 times in a row. Okay, next part. Okay, so what I'm doing here, it's kind of a takeoff on the intro. I'm going to go to the 3rd fret and the 5th fret on the A string, bounce with the open A string, back down 3 to 2 on the low E, up to the 3rd fret of the A string, to the 5th fret of the A string, pull off to the open A, and then I'm going to play some double stops, 4D, 5G, and slide back a fret, 1/2 step. Again. Next section. So I'm going to bounce off to the open A string from the 5th fret and the 7th fret now. Back to the E string, 5 to 4. And then I'm going to go 5th fret A, 7th fret A to the open A, and quickly jump back to the 3rd fret on the E string, pull off to the open E, and land on the 2nd fret of the D string. So if I put those two sections together. Okay, now we're on to the next section. It's going to sound like this. So here we start off like the beginning. And here it gets a little bit different. I'm going to go to the 5th fret on the A and G string, pull off to the open G string. Now I'm going to play a diminished arpeggio, A 6 to 9, D7, G5, coming back to the G string, 8 to 7. It sounds like this. Then I'm going to jump up into 12th position. I'm going to play an E6 chord. So I'm going to play 13 on the G, 14 on the B, 12 on the E, and I'm going to move back a total of 3 half steps, so it's going to have 3 hits. And then I'm going to play an inversion of the same chord. I'm going to take the top 3 strings on the 9th fret, so this is also an E6 chord here, and move back from the 9th to the 8th to the 7th fret. So here's this whole new section we've just learned. One small thing I forgot to mention, before we play this E6 chord, we're going to have the open E string in there. Sets up the rhythm there. So let me play that section one more time. Final section of the intro sounds like this. So here's the entire intro.